Our Pinkster. He's one of their senior project managers. And
And an
we've
architect.
seen him before. Thank you, Eric. The floor is
Good morning.
yours.
So I'm here to review the work plan that we put together to help you find out how the community's feeling about the new jail and a relocation of the COA project, or the COA facility. So this is a work plan that we've done, I don't know if hundreds of times, but definitely more than 100 times with school districts. And it's been a successful plan. And the key to the plan is, well, let me back up. What we find that is often a flaw in school districts when they go after trying to figure out a bond is they hire an architect and a construction manager, and the group gets together and says, this is what we're going to do. And then they go out there into the community and tell the community, this is what we're going to do. And that's, in our opinion, in Tower Pinkster's opinion, the backwards way of doing it. The way that we recommend doing it is first identify what are the needs. And that's what we've done here over the last couple months, is define what is the need for the COA and the sheriff's office for the jail. Then you go to the community and you define that need. And you tell them, this is what we need. What do you think? And we listen. Then we come back with both the need and what we've heard from the community and try to find a solution that marries those two things together. Then we go back to the community with a couple options and some solutions. Proposals is probably a better way to look at it. And put it out there in front of them again. And then we get feedback on that. At that point, then you get to a point, at that point you get enough information and enough feedback that you as a board of commissioners would be able to say, you know what, based on what we're hearing in the community, this is what we believe is the right option to pursue. So then we put together that final option, we put it back out there in front of the community and listen again. Get the feedback, and then if you get enough positive feedback and think you're to that threshold of moving forward, that's when you put it on a ballot and go after an election. So this is what that work plan does, is put that, what I see as my responsibility in serving you is facilitating a community dialogue with your constituents that allows you to sit and listen without stepping out there and making a political position, but allows you to hear and listen and get feedback. And when we get to the end of this work plan, our deadline to get on the ballot is April 17th for an August election. That's when you have to step up and say what we're going to do. Now, what I also find in any of these kinds of public initiatives is that it takes the unification of the leadership within the community. And that's where you have to come together over the next several months and find unifying language and unifying positions that can move the process forward. That makes sense? So I'll go through detail. That's sort of the overall reaching idea of the plan that Tower Pinkster likes to use, and I think that's the reason you hired us. So we've completed our planning assessment. I just need to pull it all back together and put the details together. The next step is to sit down with you all in the next month and talk about a vision. Where do you see both of these programs heading, and based on the needs assessment that we can provide to you. Typically it works well if there's a small advisory committee that we can work with regularly, have phone call conversations, touch base on things that are occurring, logistic kind of conversations. No major decisions being made, don't think any major decisions need to be made until we get down to the end of that. And what we'll do is we'll prepare, let me back up, the advisory committee will help us discuss options, and ultimately at the end of this, because they'll have probably more of the detail than anyone else, we, the architectural team, would make the recommendation on behalf of that advisory committee. Again, that entails putting some trust out there in a few members, or we just do it all right here in the public forum. That's another way to look at it. So that's why I've listed that as optional. The next step after we have our visioning sessions is we're going to go out to the public and inform them. You had a lot of questions listening to what you were questioning for the sheriff. I run into it a lot. People don't understand what a jail is, and often will mix up the difference between a jail and a prison. So we'll educate the community on that so that they understand how a jail is really a community institution versus a prison, which kind of encompasses the entire state. Then we're going to, after we listen to some of the feedback that we get from that, we'll start to develop some sketches and some options that tie what we hear with what the need is put together. And again, the goal would be to prepare for that next community dialogue session, which would happen right around December 1st, right around the first week of December. That's where we begin to define, here's an option and maybe some rough costs. Here's an option with maybe some rough costs. And when you start putting costs to things, it makes it a little more real for people, and they can start to figure out what that means to their daily financial lives, and weigh that against the need. You know, do we need this? What's the risk of not doing this against the cost of their personal finances? Then ideally what I'll do is I'll come back and give you an update. This is what we heard. We can discuss what we heard. I would advise that any of these community forums, come, sit quiet, listen to your community. The advisory group should be helping me. What are the questions that you want to hear? And I will facilitate that conversation. I will ask those questions to the community. I will help you get information out of your community. So the other thing I've listed there as optional is a community survey. We've got several resources that we can work with, either online, which is really people that want to get involved will provide their opinions, or we can do the dreaded not robocalls, but dreaded phone calls to people within the community and take a survey of what they think and what they know. It helps us understand where they are, but it also helps us understand what they don't know. And so that helps figure out how do we get the right information out there and dismay some of the myths or miscommunication that might be going on. And so then we'll refine that option down to a single option, and we'll put that out there again in front of the community, ideally the first week of March. We'll listen, and that's when you're going to make your decision. So we'll come back here, present to the board the findings, the final project description, and then that'll give you some time, about a month, to figure out what it is you want to do, and then we'll go to the county clerk if that's the advisable path to go. That makes sense?
Ready for questions?
I am absolutely ready.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Eric? Dan?
Yeah. When would we get, outside of our political group, community leadership involved? I don't see where that would. You start with the advisory committee, or?
You can include community members in that advisory committee. I would ask that, yes, that we get them at these community forums to voice their opinions. If we get to the point that we know what we're going to go after, that's when you want the community leaders behind you to go after that initiative. It's my role I see my role as to bring as many of those people into that conversation publicly. But if we want to include them in an advisory committee, we can do that as well. you could identify, you as a group could identify, I'd like for you to go talk to these people, and I'll go talk to them individually if you need me to. But if you want to put them on a committee, the advisory committee would be the place to put them into.
I'm just, some of the things I've been involved with in the past, the community leaders tend to be a little bit more neutral sometimes as far as, you know, we're trying to get a jail, we're trying to do this, and they're kind of, they have bought into it and they can explain why a little bit easier sometimes than we who know that it's a necessity. And that's where I was wondering where you plug those in at, so.
I think that it would be good if they would get up at a community forum and speak to those points.
Any other questions for Eric?
Madam Chair, is there any reason that we can't take up item E while we have Eric here at the podium?
Item E.
Which would be approval for your preliminary work plan. Other than it's.
Oh, on the agenda E. I was looking, I'm like, I don't
Not on
have
the
any.
agenda
Okay.
yet.
What did you say?
It's because it's not had that time for that on the agenda yet, but I wanted you to, I didn't want to put it all in with his presentation. I wanted you to be able to chew on it and at least listen to what he had to say and ask him questions without that,
Understand?
item. Any other questions for Eric?
I guess one other point that I would make is that you don't have to make the decision as to what we are doing, and I think it's important to communicate to your constituents, or hear from your constituents and communicate to them the need. I advise boards, don't do a design before you have it supported by the community. The last thing we want to do is give a community reason to say, I'm not going to support this because I don't like the design, when we haven't actually sat down and done a design. We try and keep it very diagrammatic at this point, and it's sometimes difficult to not get the cart in front of the horse. So we'll define the need, create some diagrams, help you develop a budget based on those diagrams that we're comfortable with, that you can be successful. And then once it's successful in an election or a millage, then we would design the building. Okay.
Anything else?
But you're gonna have some kind of a schematic design or something for presentations.
It'll be diagrammatic, and the best way I can explain it to you is, as an architect, I know that the information is in that diagram, and I will be successful in designing you a building that fits within that diagram. But we don't, there's so much more that goes into a design solution, that if you were to jump ahead without all that information, you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit, because then, well, you showed us that design, and it doesn't look like that anymore. Well, we found out that X, Y, and Z doesn't work.
No, but by March, we could have something.
You would have a diagram and a budget that goes along with that diagram.
Okay. People are
Yeah.
visual.
I can give you an example,
Yeah.
not
I
for
know.
this forum, I can tell you a story.
If you've ever built anything and every time you change it,
Yeah.
it costs more.
Yep.
It's never cheaper to eliminate something. It always costs you more because now you got to plug in. And so if we present the Lego version of it and it doesn't work, then we're in trouble because, well, you know, you didn't have that great big huge thing stuck in the middle of it. So I think if we can identify what our community needs or wants, it'll be easier for us in the long run to have something approved and have more input in it.
I had a school district one time that we knew we were going to do a gymnasium addition, some classroom addition, and administrative addition onto an elementary school. I had a big box for the gymnasium, a long linear box for the classrooms, and a circle for the administration. Election passes, And we start our schematic design. I go with the first attempt at the designs, and the first question was, what happened to the circle? Okay, went back and developed a project that had a circle. So
Yeah.
diagrams can be, I mean, you go too far in a plan, and the next thing you know, you're locked in.
Anything else for Eric? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We'll be discussing your work plan here in a few minutes.
Okay, I'll stick around.
All right. The next item on our agenda is to conduct a public hearing for the purposes of allowing citizens an opportunity to submit comments on the proposed homeowner emergency program funded with program income received into the county. The floor is now open for public comment. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Moving to items for consideration.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the CDBG Program Income Emergency Repair Guidelines.
Second.
That's mine.
Guessing
Sorry
that
about
it
that.
also says approval for transfers and disbursements.
Well, I have a roll call after that, though. So, motion by Jackson, support by Parker, for the approval of the CDBG Program Income Emergency Repair Guidelines. Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smoker,
Yes.
Connor. Yes. Wait.
Yes, the item is approved.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of transfers and disbursements, approval of claims in the amount of $84,773.42.
Support.
Moved by Jackson, support by Gibson for the approval of claims in the amount of $84,773.42. The clerk will, or is there discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smoker,
Yes.
Connor. Yes. Geiger,
Yes.
Wait.
Yes, the item is approved.
Item C, I move for approval to appoint Stacy Graham to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the remainder of a 3-year term that began on 4/1/18 and expires on 3/31/21, and to appoint James Alden to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term that began on 4/1/19 and expires on 3/31/22.
Support.
Moved by Jackson, support by Gibson, for the approval to appoint Stacy Graham to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the remainder of a 3-year term that began on April 1st, 2018 and expires on March 31st, 2021, and to appoint James Alden to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term that began on April 1st, 2019 and expires on March 31st, 2022. Discussion.
Madam Chair, I personally would like to see the two switched around, where Stacy Graham is a full term and Mr. Alden is a partial term. Just my thoughts.
I have no problem with that.
So, are you amending the appointments?
I would make a motion to amend it, yes.
Okay.
I'll support that.
So, there is a motion to amend with support to change the positions, giving Stacy Graham the longer term and Mr. Alden the 2-year term, 1.5-year term. Discussion. Hearing none on the amendment to switch the positions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved, or the motion, or the amendment is approved. Now on the main motion. Further discussion. Hearing none. The question before the board is approval to appoint James Alden to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the remainder of a 3-year term that began on April 1st, 2018 and expires on March 31st, 2021, and to appoint Stacy Graham to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term that began on April 1st, 2019 and expires on March 31st, 2022. All those in favor, please, oh wait, I'm sorry, it's a roll call vote. The clerk will call the roll.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smoker,
Yes.
Connor,
No.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of item D, adoption of resolution 19-15, resolution to amend County Solid Waste Management Plan, amend residency requirements for Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee members, and expand membership in Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee and matters related thereto.
Second.
Moved by Jackson, support by Parker. For the adoption of Resolution 19-15, resolution to amend County Solid Waste Management Plan, amend residency requirements for Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee members, and expand membership in the Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee and matters related thereto. Discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelter,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved.
Item E, Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the attached preliminary work plan from Tower Pinkster for the August 2020 election.
Support.
Moved by Jackson, support by Geiger for the approval of the attached preliminary work plan from Tower Pinkster for the August 2020 election. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
The jail is the #1 priority of this county and has been for a long time. After decades of waiting, we now have in front of us a plan and light at the end of the tunnel for replacing the Berry County Jail. If this board leads by listening and adopts this plan, we can make sure our rickety old jail's days are numbered.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Time.
The question before the board is the approval of the attached preliminary work plan from Towers Pinkster for the August 2020 election. The clerk will call the roll.
Smelter,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved.
Item F, Madam Chair, I move to approve the letter of support for Mishwave's application to the state of Michigan to explore improvements for enhanced broadband access and performance for Berry County and authorize the chair to sign it.
Support.
Moved by Jackson, second by Smelker, to approve the letter of support for Mishwave's application to the state of Michigan to explore improvements for enhanced broadband access and performance for Berry County and authorize the chair to sign it. Discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelter,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved.
Item G, Madam Chair, I move for approval of a letter of support for MEI, their application to the state of Michigan to explore improvements for enhanced broadband access and performance for Berry County and authorize the chair to sign it.
Second.
Moved by Jackson, second by Connor, to approve the attached letter of support for MEI's application to the state of Michigan to explore improvements for enhanced broadband access and performance for Berry County and authorize the chair to sign it. Discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelter,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved. Unfinished business. We have none. New business. I don't have anything. County Administrator's Report.
I'm all set, thank you.
Chairperson's Report. Finally done with my meeting cycle. I always have one that last Monday. And if you don't know, I have accepted a full-time teaching position at Berry County Christian School. I am excited for the opportunities that it not only brings me to stretch a little, but it also will be an asset to my children's education as well. They will be allowed to attend the school. Please keep my husband in your prayers because this is the first time in our married life that I will be away from home all day, every day, 5 days a week. when we first were married, I worked for the state and I only worked 4 days a week. So this is a new experience for him. I will be in Hastings, or at least the Hastings area, every day, and so I'll at least be in contact in the afternoons after school gets out. I've driven past that building for 3 years and wondered how to get my kids in there to be an asset to their education plan, and I finally figured it out. So that's all I have to report. We will see how things go.
When's your first day of school?
September 3rd. So I will not be at the next meeting because I'm not gonna miss the first day of school.
Absolutely not.
I am quite excited. One of the electives that we've decided to offer this year is a Michigan History's Perspective, and there will be a local history segment to that. And I look forward to working with Charlton Park and the history collection there, as well as the local historical museums and societies, and JAD with their historical perspective pieces that they've had in the paper. So I'm excited to teach our area youth about our area. And there's so much to learn, so much for me to learn about it. It'll be exciting to offer it to them. So I don't think I have anything else. Community Action Agency has been busy with stuff. I was on a conference call with them yesterday, because they scheduled a meeting right in the middle of volleyball practice. Imagine that. And then my phone went dead, so I have no idea how they finished the rest of their meeting. But other than that, Commissioner O'Connor.
Thank you. I did attend the Community Agency Action ribbon cutting that they had.
I went
Was
to
a
that too.
really nice facility, and when you walked around, you didn't think about where the salad bar was or.
And there was no pudding stains on the floor.
That's
or
correct.
anything.
So it's very, very nice facility. I missed my COA and Carewell Services because I was at MAC. Couple of things, I attended an OMA, Open Meetings Act update. That was very good, some different things that are being challenged. I also attended the redistricting outbreak session, which was very, very interesting. We didn't even get it finished, but that was also very, very interesting. Regarding their platform that the members approved, regarding the ag, the one item in there that brought my attention full force was funding for state funding for conservation district. They have been without that for many years, and that is one of the things on their platform. On the generals, on the general portion of it, one of the items was writing a law, changing the commissioner's term to 4 years instead of 2. So just a couple of things about the platform that were exceptional, I thought.
That's in Mac's platform?
Yes, it is in their platform that all passed, so.
Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Gibson.
Yes, everything is on schedule at the transit. Dispatch has been moved into their new room. They're now remodeling the front of the building space. The city council last night approved a construction firm to build a 30-unit, 4-story apartment on the old Moose property with parking under the building and business also on part of the building on the first level that is not used for parking. Hastings Township meeting, Don Haney gave a presentation about the assisted living and daycare project at Thornapple Manor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smoker.
My airport meeting is tomorrow afternoon. Transit is moving along well.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, and our townships, mine that I went to, everything seems to be running smoothly. Our ad hoc committee for the courts and law building is going very well. We're trying to come up with our final design, and we'll be talking to Landmark soon, and we are going to go visit Hayward for the panels. And I missed my judicial meeting because this meeting went too long. No, not this meeting. The one's the first of the month.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Geiger.
Well, my planning commission didn't meet. The health board didn't have quorum, and I couldn't go to the asset meeting because my car was in the shop. So, government that governs least governs best, I guess.
Sounds like my June meet, or my July meeting. Commissioner Jackson.
A quiet month. I was at the Berry Township meeting. They're still working on their water tower plan and also working on the development of a downtown development authority. The EDA board was on the 14th, continuing to see positive progress with housing starts and things, but the same issues with employment, you know, and the health board meeting was canceled. I snuck in a couple of weeks vacation in and out of northern Michigan, so I've had a relaxing month. That's it.
And Commissioner Parker.
Nothing to report for the last week.
Well, what do we got you on the payroll for then?
No, just thinking, I guess.
Alrighty. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Morning, Sharon Zabrowski, COA Board. I'm sure you remember many years ago, Tiananmen Square, the tanks came in, and there was one person who stood in front of the tanks. I'm standing in front of the tanks. The COA and the COA Board is being steamrolled. We are at the end of a project of which apparently we have no say. Whatever our thoughts are of no importance, we're going to get told what our opinion is and what we should do. And yet I'm sure at the end of this, you're going to come to the board and say, oh, but we want you to go out in the community and encourage whatever your plan is that didn't include us. And when we kind of say, but that's not what we needed, you're going to wonder why we're kind of balking at this. The COA board is a governing board. We have a director. They should be included in all of the plans that involve the COA. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Is there any, oh, come on.
Forgot to mention, we are making way. Just threw this at Tammy earlier today, that it's working, us getting out there and talking to the seniors about the scams. More and more seniors are calling and letting us know that they've caught it. And if you guys ever get a phone call and somebody's asking for a gift card from Target, Walmart, any type of gift card for payment, especially if it's a governmental entity, it's a scam. All right? No gift cards. When in doubt, call us, okay?
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Is there any other business to come before the board? There being no further business and without objection, the board will now adjourn.